Well, folks, if you've never been there before, you will be here someday, okay? You will be very frustrated with at least one of your stocks. I've been doing this for a long, long time now, and even myself, I get very frustrated every now and again around one of my stocks not going up, and I'm like, what is going on here? And it even will frustrate me sometimes as somebody that's been doing this for 12 plus years now. And so I want to take you guys through exactly how to think about this, and I'll even tell you in this video, I'll be honest about a stock I personally own that I was getting a little frustrated about today, and I'm like, what is wrong with this stock? Okay, maybe some of you guys can guess it, maybe you can, okay? But there's one specific stock, I'm like, it is such a great deal, and like the stock just doesn't move, or it's just downtrends, and it even kind of gets me in my feelings, right? And so I hope you guys appreciate me kind of teaching you guys what I personally go through in these situations, as well as I hope you appreciate my honesty of coming clean about a stock that I even was feeling a little frustrated about today as well. So I hope you learned a lot from a video like this. We're just going to go through a whiteboard video here and kind of take you through these steps, and hope you guys appreciate it. All I ask in return is that you smash that like button. That's literally it. If you ever have any stock market questions directly for me, feel free to check out the pinned comment down there. That will be to shoot me a text. I try to get back to at least a few people a day. I've been doing this for a long, long time, so I can answer a lot of your guys' questions out there. So yeah, send me a question. I'll try my best to get back to you. Once again, that'll be pinned comment. And also, pinned comment will be for Stock Hub. If you want to join us in Stock Hub, that's absolutely a free Discord chat. It's the best stock market Discord chat out there. So look forward to you guys joining in there if you haven't already, okay? Alrighty guys, let's get into this, okay? So first off, you research a stock. You do your research work, you read the 10Ks and 10Qs, you listen to earnings calls, maybe you do it on the Hungry Bowl app or wherever, right? And you look into all this stuff. And so you put in your research work and you're like, I think I found a stock here. I like this stock. I looked at the valuation. I looked at everything. I like it, okay? And so you start buying that stock. You feel like, hey, I'm gonna, what is everybody's thought process when they go into buying a stock? I'm gonna make money on this. I'm gonna make 20% gains or 50% gains or 100% or maybe, several 100%. So it's an optimistic vibe. You're like, I'm getting a great deal on the stock. I'm buying, okay? And then maybe the stock doesn't do anything or even goes lower in the short term. So you buy more of the stock. Maybe not once, maybe not twice, maybe not 3 times, maybe 10 times, right? You could keep buying those shares. I know almost every single stock I've ever bought, I've averaged down on the position or averaged up on the position, but usually averaged down on the position several times, right? I like to buy a lot of beaten down dogs, and when you try to catch those fallen knives sometimes, you might get sliced along the way, okay? And I'm not afraid to do that because usually, things obviously work out in a tremendous way on the upside. So a lot of times I'll average down the position several times, 3 times, 5 times, sometimes even 10 plus times, and build the position bigger and bigger. And I've been doing that the same way for the last 10 plus years now, okay? And so you buy more of the stock. Then you get into the fourth part, right? Where months go by, or maybe even a year goes by. And guess what has happened? The stock has gone down. It hasn't gone up, or it's staying the same. And you're like, wait a minute, I looked in this company, such a great deal. I love this. And what is going on here? And it's like all this time is passing and you're like, I still haven't made money. I still haven't made money. And you start like, that frustration starts coming in, right? And the real frustration starts coming in when you get these two things, right? When you're down or break even on the stock, but the company fundamentals look great, right? It's one thing if you invest into a stock and the company fundamentals aren't there and it's just a mess, right? Like let's say you bought Nikola stock and you got into that mess, right? That's a whole different situation because at least you can look at that. That's not even as frustrating, right? Because at least you can look at that and be like, oh, I messed up, man. I bought into that Trevor Milton guy. He was, this and that. You could at least understand that, right? What's a lot more frustrating is when things are going on, when you feel like everything's great and the stock is not reflecting that. The stock is going down while everything looks great, and you start to, that is the most frustrating thing. Believe me, I've picked bad stocks before. I've been in some stocks where the management team was just bad, right? Or even got into a stock at the wrong time. Remember CCL, for anybody that's been with me a long time, CCL was a stock I started buying right before Rona. Next thing you know, all of a sudden all cruise ships are closed, and it's like a once in 100-year, pandemic. It's like, this is ridiculous. Like, what are the chances of that, right? That's not as frustrating to me because I can understand that, right? It's like, man, just, some bad luck's going to happen in the stock market, right? You're going to have some good luck in this game, and you're going to have some bad luck where things just like you bought the wrong stock at the wrong time, right? We can all understand that, and we can get over that. The ones that are hard to get over is when everything's looking great for the company and the stock's going down. That's the more frustrating thing because you're like, this company's fundamentals, is phenomenal, and yet the stock is downtrending. I'm losing money on the stock. And that leads you to the seventh thing, which leads you to start to get into your feelings, right? And you start getting mad, you start getting frustrated. You're like, what's this so stupid? Like, why does the stock, you know, some people start feeling down about themselves, they start feeling less confident in the market, and a whole host of problems, right? And so this is a cycle that, you know, even experienced investors can go through. And, you know, I can almost guarantee you every single person watching this video, if you haven't gone through this, you're going to likely go through it at some point in the stock market. It's going to happen to you, okay? It's just a fact of life. Like, this is, you know, if you're in this game for, you know, 10, 20, 30 years, it's going to happen, okay? And so a stock that I've been dealing with this today specifically, that I was feeling kind of frustrated about, that I'm going to tell you about, and then we're going to get into the steps on what to take in this, was CRSR, Corsair Gaming. That's a stock that I've been looking at, and obviously I've been buying for months and months now. And that's just a stock that I'm down on, down like 10+% on. And I look at that and I'm like, the fundamentals of this company is great. The valuation's insanely low. Like, they have so much upside for the next 5, 10 years. And yet the stock just keeps going down. And so that's what I was looking at specifically today. And I'm just like, you know, was kind of getting a little frustrated about. And that's what led me to start this video here today, where I'm looking at the stock and I'm a little frustrated. All my other stocks I can understand, right? Some have you know, if it's gone down for any reason, which I don't have many stocks that I'm down on, but if it is gone down, it's for some sort of like real fear around the stock, right? Or something like that, right? For instance, two stocks that come to mind that I'm actually down on would be Wont Brands, which is a super speculative stock with, you know, massive upside, massive downside, and then Voyager Digital, I'm down on that stock, but that's one of those that's very speculative stock and really wrapped up in crypto price in the short term. So those I can actually understand, like, being down on it. It doesn't faze me at all. Corsair Gaming is a whole different scenario, because I'm looking at that company, the valuation's so low, the business model is so phenomenal, company is so profitable, the management team is so on top of things, and, like, you know, the stock's down, and it's like months and months have gone by and it's just like down, okay? And so what do I like to do in this sort of scenario? Because Corsair Gaming will not be the last company that gets me like this, right? Where I invest into it for months and months and months, and I still am down, and the fundamentals are great and all those things, okay? The first thing is, step one, you got to understand, you can't control the stock prices, right? You can't do it. Like, the stock prices are going to be what the stock prices are going to be in the short term. Warren Buffett has a super famous quote, if you know anything about Warren Buffett quotes. He has a lot of very famous ones, right? He says, you know, in the short term, the stock market is one big voting machine, but over the long term, it's a weighing machine. And that's a very famous Warren Buffett quote, and I think it's a great thing. Like, you can't control, like, what happens with the stock price short term. Oh well, you know what I mean? Like, anything less than a year is short term. If you're talking about 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 4 years from now, that's a whole different scenario, okay? If a stock is down 3 years after you bought it, you made a bad decision, okay? Flat out, like, you made a bad decision. If it's, you know, we're 3 years from now, 5 years from now, and let's say a stock like Corsair Gaming's down, I made a bad decision on that stock. But at the end of the day, like, if you know, a stock's down 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, even 12 months after you first started buying it and you're down in that position, doesn't mean you made a mistake, right? It's just that it could be something going on in the market short term. It could just be, you know, people just don't want to buy that stock. Maybe it's not getting enough publicity from hedge funds or Wall Street in general. Like, it could be a million different things, right? So I think that is a little reassuring, right, in this game. Step two, relook into the position. So something I like to do if I'm down on a position, especially after months, I like to relook into the position. So I'm going to pull back up the latest 10Q or 10K. I'm going to listen to the latest conference call. If the company has any investor presentations, I'm going to look through those. I'm going to relook at valuation. I'm going to relook at my growth models for the stock, for revenue growth and profit growth over the coming years and things like that, right? I'm going to relook into the income statement, the balance sheet. I'm going to relook into all that. Make sure, like, did I do something wrong here? Did I make a mistake? Or is everything as good as I remember it, or even better, right? And a lot of times what happens is I'll relook into it and the company's actually even in a better spot than when I first started buying it. That gives me even more conviction to say, maybe I should buy some more shares of stock, okay? Third part is, then I look at the Asian. The valuation. The valuation is the next step here. When I look at the valuation, I'm going to say, did I make a mistake around valuation? Did I buy this stock at a very, very poor price? Did I way overpay for what this company's growth is? Okay, that's something I'll look at. Something in regards to Corsair, when I was relooking into that one today, no. Okay, I did not overpay for Corsair. I'm not overpaying for Corsair. I looked at all the valuations, not even, you know, taking into account where that company's going to be 3 years, 5 years, 7 years from now. Just taking into account what the company's doing now. I did not overpay for it. for it, but this is something I always run through with all my stocks. Did I overpay for that stock or not? And sometimes it might be, yeah, I paid a little hefty price. Maybe I got a little FOMO in that stock. Most of the time it is no. Then we got to understand step 4. This is extremely important. Extremely important. This is something Kathy Wood spoke about quite a while ago, actually many years ago, in relation to Tesla stock. And she's one of the only people I've ever heard really talk about this, and it made so much sense, okay? And so the longer a great company that's executing and building their business massively, right, the revenues, profits, employee base, like technology, intellectual property, all those things, right? The longer the stock price does nothing, the bigger the move to the upside is going to be over time, right? So if there's a stock where it's not, you know, the company's making phenomenal progress, but the stock price doesn't move year after year after year after year, eventually that stock is going to move. And when it does move, it is going to make an absolutely insane move. And she was 100% right in this. With Tesla, right? If we remember Tesla, this was a stock that did nothing for like 6 years. Meanwhile, over those 6 years, what happened? The company made amazing progress. The revenues, you know, went crazy over those 6 years. They came out with so much demand for so many different products. The company built out factories, an employee base. The tech was at a whole different level over those 6 years, and the stock price did nothing. And what happened with Tesla stock? I mean, that thing literally went up, you know, 1,500, 2,000%, something like that, in like a matter of a 2-year span, right? Less than a 2-year span. How does a move like that happen? Well, the stock price did nothing for like 6 years, right? And so it was due to have an absolute crazy run and catch the company back up to where, you know, people believed it should be, right? And so keep this in mind. If the company's actually executing on the bottom line, right, and on the top line, if the company's actually executing with the fundamentals of the business, the products and the services they're coming out with, building a bigger competitive moat around it, and they're building up those revenues, and they have insane TAM and insane growth, like, guess what? The longer that stock does nothing, the more massive that move will be over time, okay? And I've seen it time and time again with stocks. I think Tesla's just the greatest example of that, okay? Step 5. This could be a blessing, honestly, that a stock is down for 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Do you know why? Because you can buy for a longer period of time. What was the issue in 2020 that a lot of folks ran into, right? They would start a position, including myself, start a position, and the stock would go up so dang fast that you wouldn't get to build out your position because it was just like boom, 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 boom. Everything was flying to the sky really quickly, right? And especially if you were investing, you know, basically from April of 2020 all through, you know, the beginning of 2021, I mean, as soon as you got a position, started a position, it was like, it was flying up. And next thing you know, it's up 10%, 20%, 30%, 40%. And you're like, dude, I didn't even get to invest what I wanted to invest in this stock. It just went crazy, right? And that's a situation you get in. Well, if a stock is down for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months after you invest in it, could honestly be a blessing because you get to build out that position for a longer period of time and in a more disciplined fashion rather than just go all in the stock all at once or something like that, right? And, you know, I take it back to this, right? Maybe there was, you know, as a kid, you know, in high school or something like that, maybe your parents didn't let you go to a certain party, and then something really bad actually ended up happening at that party, and you're like, man, good thing I didn't actually go there, right? Or maybe, you know, something came up where you were supposed to do something with your friends or family or something like that, and you had to work, and then all of a sudden, you know, something bad happened, you're like, dang, that was kind of actually a blessing in disguise. Maybe you wanted to date somebody, but then your friend ended up dating that person, and you're like, oh man, that person's crazy in the head. I dodged a bullet there. I think a lot of people have probably been there before, like, oh, I dodged a bullet. Like, oh, I never dated them, right? And so you run into some of those situations where in the short term, you're kind of frustrated and you're mad that things didn't go your way, right? The way you wanted them to go. And then actually you find out, oh, that I actually got lucky in that situation. And a lot of times that happens with stocks where you get this huge time period to buy up more and more shares. And, you know, imagine if Tesla was a stock that, I don't know, gained me, I don't know if it was 7 figures or it was a really large amount of money, right? Tesla, I was able to build that position for probably a year before it really started beasting, right? And so, but if Tesla had just started beasting as soon as after I invested in it, guess what ends up happening? I never get to build out that position to a really large position, right? Or at least what was a large position for me at that time. So think about that for a moment there. Let that kind of sink in that a lot of times if the stock is down for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, you might be getting a blessing in disguise and you just don't realize it at that time, right? So that is a big big one. Not always true, but if the company's truly great and the fundamentals are exciting and the TAM's there, you know, it's likely a blessing in disguise, okay? Step 6 here, okay? I like to consider the big O if I'm in a stock where it's going down or just doing nothing for a period of time, right? So the big O is options. I will consider long-term options. So right now, just very recently, 2024 options came out, okay? These 2024 options expire in January of 2024. And so I'm looking at some of these in some of the stocks like a Corsair Gaming and maybe a few others that, you know, maybe these stocks haven't been moving, right? And I think they're due to go on a big run. Now, when I consider the call option plays, right, I'm not going to go insanely crazy. So, you know, if I build a really large position in a stock, that's a 7-figure position, right? You're not going to see me put 7 figures in options, in call options for 2024 in any stock. Even a stock that I love that I think is going to be a beast over the coming years, which is Corsair Gaming, you're not going to see me put 7 figures in that because I could be wrong. What if the stock doesn't move? Like, what if the company just continues to execute for the next 2 years, right? The valuation gets lower and lower, but the stock price doesn't move because, once again, I can't control the stock. The stock's going to be what it's going to be in the short term, right? I can't control that. So if I can't control it, then I have to limit position sizing. I think there's a high probability a stock like Corsair Gaming is going to be a beast over the next few years, but I don't know for sure, right? It's impossible to know. Like I said, if the fundamentals of the company is great, doesn't mean that stock's going to go up in the short term, right? Eventually, it's going to have to, but as of right now, it simply doesn't have to, right? Who's to say Corsair Gaming can't be in a Tesla situation where the stock doesn't do anything for 5 or 6 years, despite the company making great progress? Like I said, I don't think that's going to happen, but it's a possibility. So I can't build that in a 7-figure position. So maybe I buy like $30K worth of options in a play like that. Maybe I buy something like $50,000 worth of options, something like that, right? Something a little more manageable that if I was wrong and the stock doesn't do anything over the next few years and it goes down or it just doesn't do anything, right? It just is basically where it is. At least I didn't go so crazy into that one that, you know, I'm in a situation where I'm like, oh my gosh, I just lost a significant portion of my net worth or something like that. Meanwhile, if I'm right on that, right? If everything does play out like I think it's going to play out over the next couple of years, that 30K can all of a sudden be, you know, 90K or maybe 120K, something like that, if things really play out the way I think they're going to play out. Now you can say, well, that's 7 figures. Let's say you do $1 million in call options, then it can be 4 million. Yeah, once again, everything in the stock market is about risk reward. What's the level of risk I'm taking in this investment? What's the reward potential in this, right? And so that's where I kind of like, yeah, that's a little too risky for me at this stage. Maybe someday I'll be doing 7-figure option plays. Not today, okay? 7-figure stock plays, I'm there for that. 7-figure option plays, not today. Maybe in a few years, but not today, guys. So hope you enjoyed this. This is one of those videos that you should come back to if you're ever frustrated with a stock or the way things are going in the market or at a particular time in stocks you own. I think it's just like a really healthy video to watch in the future, guys. So you can kind of, you know, hear from somebody like myself that's been doing this for a long period of time on how I view these things. So yeah, guys, anyways, if you want to text me any of your stock market questions, feel free to do so. That will be pinned comment down there. Make sure you join us in Stock Hub. That's the best free stock market Discord chat out there, guys. Thank you for watching and have a great day.